All right, well, thank you everybody for attending. Uh, this is Controlling AI and Instruction, and I'm very glad to have heard in the prior panel the words control and the word space, which is relevant to this presentation because what we're trying to do here is to control AI in instruction and find space for it if it's appropriate. So let's get started. I'm Steve Covello, and I'm the Senior Instructional Designer here at UNH College of Professional Studies Online. And I have also served as Senior Adjunct Online faculty since 2012. So the toolkit that I offer today is really an outgrowth of that work. So these are some of the courses that I teach. So this is the ebook that accompanies this presentation, and I will paste in the URL as part of this, unless there's a handout that will be sent to everybody later. And this presentation follows the structure of that toolkit. First, how do we determine if there is an opportunity to use AI for an assignment or activity? And if so, how do we design it? Then how do we convey to students the rules of the road in our courses that there is consistency across the board for the use of AI? All right, so let's go through each part of the toolkit. Before we proceed, we need to examine the conditions where the use of this toolkit would be useful. After all, this is a conversational model to determine what is possible for using AI in instruction, and university cultures can be very different. So who's in this conversation? Well, as we propose it, it is the instructor and their instructional design partner working collaboratively as peers. In some colleges, IDs are considered technicians and have no collaborative engagement in pedagogy or instructional challenges with the faculty at all. At CPSO, faculty, directors, and IDs work very closely. So maybe the person you work with is not an ID, but someone else with expertise in this area. The more important factor for success here is that it's about conversation as peers. And in our case, we look to our IDs for expertise in online pedagogy and instructional communication so that they can participate in discussions with faculty about what is possible in teaching and learning. So that requires some professional development for the ID related to AI. In other words, we better know what we're talking about. Likewise, if the instructor is willing to use an AI component in their course, like some of the other professors that have presented today, they're going to need to comprehend the AI tool as well, enough to support students, even if it's at the most basic level. Now, this is not to suggest that every instructor now needs to become an AI engineer. I mean, you don't need to be a mechanic to drive a car, but you do need to know enough to operate it and do some basic troubleshooting. And then last, the institution needs to support the use of AI according to policies that permit its use under controlled conditions that sustain the integrity of their degree programs. So, of course, your organization will be unique, so consider these prerequisites sort of a starting point. All right, so let's go through each part of the toolkit. Now, just a reminder, I'm going to walk through each of these steps again later in field-based examples at the end, where I'll elaborate on these a little bit further. We begin by asking whether there is any space in your assignment or activity where AI can be used. And this involves deconstructing the tasks the students will undertake to complete the work. So based on this analysis, we will determine what must be conserved according to traditional academic methods. Then we can ask, all right, well, what can you let go of to allow an AI-based method for completing a task? And if there are no opportunities for using AI, you know what? That's okay. That is part of the conversation. But if there is, the next point of discussion is a matter of degree. Are we interested in streamlining the task or transforming this activity entirely? And if that sounds like a page taken from the SAMR model, you'd be correct. So once we have identified an opportunity to use AI in whatever capacity works for the conditions, we need a framework for designing the activity. Now, AI is no ordinary technology integration. So we build some checkpoints into that activity that reinforce critical thinking, attribution, and reflection. Now, this isn't a prescriptive model. It's not like a recipe here. You have to follow the ingredients. Every instructional challenge is unique. And there may be reasons not to use all of these elements, as I'm showing you here. But the rationale for each of these elements aligns with our foundation competencies as well as the reality of our changing technology environment. For example, everyone knows AI is here, and it's part of the scholarly and industrial environment. And it's our job to cultivate responsible use of AI as an academic competency. AI is strong in reasoning, but not very good at facts. I mean, I tried an experiment last night with deep research. The facts need definitely to be checked. We must learn to control it because AI is fluent, which gives the appearance of knowledge and intelligence. So controlling AI requires guidance, practice, and reflection. So documenting the use of AI is consistent with other forms of attribution that we already do. And last, we already know that reflection is an excellent strategy for learning, but we also need to know how our students are experiencing encounters with AI, and we cannot know this unless they tell us. All right, so then the last part of the toolkit articulates the rules of the road, so to speak, based on the work of Michael Perkins. And this is a page with a table that describes each of the 5 levels of using AI with verbiage that can be used in the syllabus, course resources, and assignment descriptions. So you have consistent language all the way across. The rationale for this is driven by the need for consistency across all courses, whether they employ AI or not, and certainly about what is permissible under what conditions. All right, let's take a look at an example. And here is the research paper assignment for the undergraduate COM 798 Integrative Capstone course that I teach here at UNH. Working with the program director, who is in attendance, we made 2 enhancements to this course using AI. And in the academic tradition, we expect students to tap through pencils and grind through coming up with a viable research question, go through revisions with the instructor, and after 2 or 3 weeks, arrive at something that works. Now, I do not assess this process. I only care about the quality of the research question as a charter for conducting the research. So as the instructor, how they get there doesn't really concern me. In a way, I've kind of let that go. The same applies, whoops, I'm a little ahead of myself. The same applies for the annotated bibliography, which it doesn't matter to me how well they are able to summarize an article, because these entries are ingredients for the thing I do care about, which must be conserved as is, and that's the literature review. We felt we could use AI to streamline these tasks, but we didn't need to transform them entirely. Now, in the last section of the paper, as I just animated a moment ago, we see a truly transformative opportunity for students to capture alternate perspectives about their research using AI and incorporate their findings. So now let's look at how we streamlined the first couple of sections, and then we'll review how we transformed the last section. All right, so in the first 2 sections I just described, we have identified what must be conserved as is and where we can use AI. Then we decided to introduce some AI tools into the research question and bibliography development so that these tasks could be performed more efficiently. So how did we go about redesigning these assignments? And this is where the use of part 2 of the toolkit for redesigning the assignment, as shown in the headings across the top. Starting with the design, we opened up the assignment specifications, and we allowed the use of several AI tools to develop the research question and to locate and organize sources for building the bibliography. And they also used the UNH online library, just as they had also done in the past. So it's not as if these tools were replacing the library. So they were free to use an AI tool for developing their research question and use Elicit, Consensus, Research Rabbit, and perhaps some others for exploring research studies. Now, these tools didn't do the thinking for them. It simply streamlined the process. Next, they used the AI tools to organize and query into their findings and then develop their literature reviews just as if they had made their bibliographies manually. And as you can see from the students' feedback, they figured out which tools worked best and how their output contributed to pre-writing work. And for the documentation component, I asked each student to capture their AI experiences as they occurred so that we could debrief about it at the end of the course. But this could also be conducted through a section of the assignment or maybe even a survey of some kind. This just happened to be the way we did it in this assignment. After they submitted their papers, we discussed their experiences using AI to get a sense of how these tools were valuable and consider that value against the time it took to learn how to use them effectively. And here are some of the comments. And as you can see, students said that the AI tools saved them time, but they also learned how to use them effectively hands-on. And as one student said on the lower left, he felt that using AI tools should be brought in later in the student's academic journey. And this suggests, and I happen to agree, that students need to learn foundation academic skills first before they can use an AI assistant. And this is an example of developing AI skills as an agent, not as a passive receiver of information. So in this part of the project, we streamlined a process using AI while preserving the traditional methods that mattered. Now let's take a look at how we transformed the latter part of the research paper using AI to create a new section. Now, as I mentioned previously about the SAMR model for tech integration, it states that transformation is when tech allows for the creation of new tasks previously inconceivable. In this case, we tried an experiment. You will see here that the submission assignment includes a new section for the paper called positionality. Now, you can call it anything you want, but I just happen to call it positionality. And I asked students to anonymize their completed draft and upload it to ChatGPT with the following prompt. Now, remember that this is what is pasted into ChatGPT. In other words, the you refers to the persona that we are asking the AI to assume. And we are asking AI to generate perspectives on the student's work beyond their own, just to see what it comes up with. Maybe it's useful, maybe not. Let's find out. Well, here are some excerpts from student papers that show that when they used AI for alternate perspectives, they did not realize how their research would be useful beyond their prescribed area of interest. They recognized that there are multiple ways to view their findings beyond their immediate context. Of course, it requires reflection to recognize the limitations and biases of AI, but this exercise did one thing that we could not have feasibly done before, which is to empower students to see their work from perspectives beyond their own. So at this point, we've seen two examples where we identified opportunities, streamlined some tasks, and transformed an assignment. And then we redesigned them for using AI constructively and responsibly, then directed students to reflect on how they operated AI as an agent. Now let's look at the final piece of the toolkit, which is the rules of the road. What we need now is a code of conduct that makes it easy for students to know what is permissible in using AI or not in the assignments. This table is reproduced from a peer-reviewed research developed by Michael Perkins. You can see these citation at the bottom, but I made a couple of slight changes from the original in case you retrieve this from the source publication, and those changes are reflected in the ebook that I will be sharing with you later. There's a rationale for why some of those changes were made, which I don't have time to get into now. But this resource is valuable because we can use the same language in the syllabus, the course resources, and in the assignment. And for every new course we build now, the About the Use of AI in this course page is copied into the course resources and referenced as needed. And on the right, lower right, is an example of how this verbiage is used in the assignment prompt. That is the toolkit. So have a conversation about where the opportunities might be. Design the assignment with a framework that reinforces responsible use and develops agency over AI, and consistently articulate the rules of the road. That's the toolkit, and I thank you for your time and attention. And I'm going to stop the screen share now so that you can see that I'm an actual person. Any questions? I hope I got that in.
Thank you so much, Steve, for sharing. You had some incredible insights, and I know that was helpful, at least for me. So hopefully it was helpful for all the other listeners. I don't see any questions. So if there are any questions, unmute now and please ask. And if not, then we will see you at the next session.
Dr. Kondrath, would you like to editorialize a bit in a minute?
Sure. So I'm the program director who oversees the three courses that Steve mentioned in his presentation today, and specifically the capstone course which he used as the basis to show you how he has implemented AI into the course. And I was invited to attend the session where he kind of solicited some feedback from the students regarding their work with AI and the ways in which it enhanced and then potentially also could muddy some of their capstone work. And they were very transparent, they were very honest, and their insight was incredibly valuable. So Steve continues to be a pioneer here at the college to experiment with the implementation of AI in his courses. I very much appreciate that he also has a good lens on various stakeholder groups in the process by involving me as the program director, and most notably our students. Because their insight, particularly the one testimonial that Steve highlighted here, where the student said it's absolutely critical that folks don't get immersed in AI too early in their course of study is very, very helpful for us for thinking about how we can integrate it meaningfully and scaffold it within our curriculum. So thank you, Steve, for all of the work that you've done, and you did a brilliant job sharing it here today, too.